All right, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be just doing a few updates. This is my day off. I didn't, not really prepared, didn't even take a shave. So this is not going to be so much about Section 8. We're going to talk about some updates that may be a little personal in nature. We're going to cover a couple topics today that will be related to Section 8 Consulting as a YouTube channel and how we perform. And we're also going to talk about a few of the cats today. Many of you have seen them in my videos while I do consulting work for you guys live on these YouTube videos. So to let you guys know that that cat that I had rescued, pretty girl, after that 10-day stint in the hospital, she has fully recovered. And she's a lot like popcorn now. She's always moving around. She's still a little bit needy and, hangs around me a lot. But she's a young cat, so we expected that. Now, in addition to that, we changed our incorporation this year. So YouTube for our YouTube channel and also www.section8consulting.com. We went from LLC to S Corp. So when I changed that structure, something very interesting happened with AdSense. Now, as you know, most YouTube creators have, we have ads, and you click on them, and we make a few pennies basically, and then we had to split the penny. I think 55% with YouTube. So when I attempted to do that, YouTube decided to demonetize while they wait to send me a PIN number. So I'm working for free for the month. I think I made a staggering $3 off of ad revenue for the last couple of days. So terrible way, and that's probably why I haven't made a video in a week. There's not much inspiration when you're being paid half a copper penny for 3 days' work. So, anyways, here I am. The other thing is we're going to be migrating our office. As you mentioned earlier in the year, y'all saw that 1 month adventure where I attempted to purchase a home and property in the state of Arkansas in the mountains. That didn't work out. So about 13 miles from my home currently, I found a nice senior couple, and they own a horse ranch and so on. And we found a small property there. What we're attempting to do is ride out the red hot bubble in the U.S. for houses. I'm not inspired to pay 30% over market and then watch the bubble pop. And then all of a sudden your home's worth 30% less plus interest times the mortgage 15 or 30 years, right? So we're going to go live in a smaller space and then keep a lot in storage. And as soon as the market melts down and becomes reasonable again, I'll jump back in the housing market. So we have lots of clean air, horses, and lots of land out there, clearly for me and the cats, which is good news. So next month, I will have reduced the number of hours. We'll be closed Wednesdays and Saturdays, and I will not be doing consulting work or even answering messages or phone calls those days. Because it's a big move, and we have to get out there, and I've got to keep a close eye on the cats, make sure they don't run off into the woods. We are backed up onto a forest. It is not a national forest; it's just a Texas forest. And so I want to make sure none of the cats get taken away by a coyote or whatever it may be. Moving on from that, phone hours will switch now from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. only, and then 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. is when I will do consults for everybody. That is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. I will open up Wednesdays occasionally, especially when I cannot work one of those other days for appointments. As of now, I'm booked pretty heavily during the week. So again, phone hours will be 8 a.m. to 3, and casework hours where I'm actually working on cases and talking to people by phone will be 3 to 5. I only do a limited number of consults anyways. So I want to talk to you about two big issues we're seeing right now. One's Ukraine, and you're wondering, well, what does it have to do with anything? Well, it has a lot to do with things. We got hundreds of thousands of people coming from that nation to the United States. It will have an effect on the housing market, and if they're granted a presidential asylum, they most certainly can. And I did learn that today after a lot of legal wrangling after a week, that they may and can get into Section 8 housing, which will further exacerbate the problem. However, it is highly unlikely. Why? Because it's being funded heavily by the United States government, being funded by not Uber, but the Uber of housing is funding a lot of this. So in other words, people putting up their homes and so on. So most of the refugees are going to be private market. They're not going to bother with vouchers. Why would they? Why would they take a step down into Section 8 when in fact there are hundreds, if not thousands, of organizations and a ton of federal funding put behind them? So they don't really need to enter the market unless they're just ridiculous or foolish. They don't really need Section 8 vouchers, but they could if they wanted. I mean, clearly. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Also today, I'm going to be talking to, I was going to pull up the email real quick. I probably should have had this ready to go. Let's see if I can find it again. So I'm going to be doing an interview with a news group today around 3 p.m. And so I'll give you some details real quick. So I've talked with these folks before, okay? So Cry Night News, which is Arizona's PBS affiliate, okay, which is run also by the Arizona State University. Some of the reporters from Arizona State and the PBS affiliate will be interviewing me today. And I think that'll be at 3 p.m. Texas time. Because I didn't have any other time to do it, and I didn't want to do it any other days. What we're going to be talking about, what will be interesting, is what I'm going to be making a video about. I'm going to be talking about criminal records and how that plays into those of you that have been to prison, those that have been convicted of misdemeanors and felonies. A lot of you are under the belief you can't get housing in any which way you try, but that's untrue. I've, in fact, took a gentleman that was a 7-time convicted federal bank robber and placed him in housing, within months. If I can put an ex-con into Section 8, fresh off the bus, fresh out of chains, into housing 30 days later, trust me, your case is not that serious. There are, and don't get me wrong, some people's cases are serious because they have other problems going on. What I'm saying is if I can perform those miracles, trust me, most of your cases out here that I'm working on, and I think at current I'm working on around 160 or more cases for clients, are not that not that tough. Okay, so again, pulling a guy out of prison, robbed 7 banks, hello, Section 8, not a problem. Anyways, since this is a live video, I'm gonna comment on a few of you guys making comments. Again, if you're new to the channel, this is gonna seem like an odd video to make for a Section 8 channel as a consultant, right? But sometimes it's just a short video about updates and other interesting things. I don't just always want to talk about Section 8 housing. Good morning, Victoria. How are you? Good morning, Good Redmond. How are you? Good Redmond says very interesting information. Was actually wondering about this the other day. I was on the fence about it. I told a lot of clients that it would not. I don't know if you mean the Ukrainian refugees, but I know that I posted about Ukrainian refugees and the sheer numbers that were going to become the U.S. and there's a lot more going to other countries, millions. I don't think it's going to play out very bigly in Section 8. First of all, they don't have the kind of preferences that most of you do. In other words, yeah, they can apply. Most of them wouldn't even be able to get a Section 8 voucher. I understand that they're war-torn from Ukraine, but, the understanding of the policy, procedures, and rules, you got to have a lot more problems than just simply being a young person out of Ukraine, okay? And that's why the very few that try to enter the system will realize they would have it easier just accepting federal funds and going to the private market. There's a lot of people in this nation that want to help those folks. And there's a lot of private landlords and so on that are happy to take it. You got to remember, just because somebody is a refugee from a country does not mean they're broke. It does not mean they don't have credit cards. It does not mean that they don't have access to money and everything else. Most of these people that probably come from Ukraine are well qualified to go and live there. They can also work here as well, and so it's not like we're taking Ukrainian people from under bridges that smoke crack and prostitute. These are ordinary people that have been put in extraordinary circumstances. They're being granted a very appropriate level of refugee status in our country because that's what we've always done as Americans, right? Help other people. And I don't believe they're going to have any heavy impact on Section 8. I don't think anybody can have a heavy impact on Section 8 outside of people like me that are trying to get clients in there the best we can. So they're just going to go under federal funding to private landlords. They don't need a voucher. Amy Guzman, hey, it's been a while. I forgot you mentioned I'm in the Southern California, Orange County. Now, there's a war zone, right, for housing. California. New York's a war zone. Florida's a war zone for housing. Wendy's reseller. Can't wait to start working with you. I look forward to it, Wendy. You're probably one of the other 30 people that booked me while I was closed this weekend. So I tell you what, the phone and email absolutely went wild. If my phone had the ability to catch on fire, crackle, snap, and jump around, it would have done so Thursday and Friday. The minute I posted I didn't want to be bothered this weekend, everybody picked up the telephone and said, "Hey, how are you, Jay?" And of course, the bookings were coming through, and my email looked like a stock ticker. I mean, it just kept rolling and rolling. I'm like, Monday is going to be a miserable day because now I've got to get back to work. Good Redmond. Yes, refugees, even immigrants coming in across the border. you know, no, coming across the border doesn't have anything to do with Section 8. Okay, those are not immigrants. They don't qualify as a refugee. There's a difference between an immigrant being illegally here from Mexico or Canada and a refugee. Big differences. And if I find that we're having a consensus in here of racism and other issues, or people have problems with Spanish people from Spain, Spanish people from South America, I'll put you out of my channel, okay? Do not bring politics in this channel. I don't mind discussing immigrants and I don't mind discussing refugees, but if this is going to de-evolve into a political arena, I will put you out and that'll be the end, okay? I'm making that clear to everybody. I don't do that. If you're looking for a side, I don't have one. So just saying that for everybody, nothing personal to anybody. Sandra Barksdale, because you know what? If I acted like that kind of consultant, I was going to pick what color people I wanted to deal with and what their circumstances would be, then half the people that I've dealt with over 20 years, I would have just hung up the phone. I don't do stuff like that. I don't get into bigotry, don't get into racism and all that. I represent the American people in what I do, regardless of where you're coming from, okay? As long as you have a right to do so. Sandra Barksdale, hi. Are you familiar with the RAD program in Virginia? It sounds like a state operational program. I'd have to look into it. So I'm not familiar with the acronym RAD. Also, keep in mind, Sandra, even in the state of New York, there are 61 additional acronym names for programs that run at county and state level that are completely separate of federal programs. So the possibility when you multiply that by 5,500 counties across the nation, I would have to keep a database of around 8 terabytes. So this to give an idea. But yeah, I realize the question is, have I heard of it? I don't think I've heard that acronym before, but I don't remember anything that in relation to it. Probably could look it up and tell you. Good Remnant says, have you totally thrown in the towel in Arkansas? Yeah, I had to give up on Arkansas. So going back to the housing, y'all watched as I had made less than stellar plans for Arkansas. It wasn't a well-planned trip, okay? That's clear, but that was my option. It just doesn't work. One of the bigger factors about Arkansas is this. I grew up in South Louisiana and Baton Rouge. Look, people don't have a great deal of money. Most people don't have much of a future out there. That's how southern states tend to be. There's not, unless you work in oil and gas. So, look, it's been a long time since I've been out in the country. And, you got the city, you got the suburbs, you got the country, you got rural, and then you got extreme. I was somewhere between rural and extreme up there in Arkansas in the mountains. It's not for me. When the whole town closes, okay, for 3 and 4 days, or when it snows and nobody can drive for 4 days, that's too much for me. When when the only thing open in your town for a restaurant is McDonald's, you're in trouble. Some people can deal with that, but I'm not. Okay, so I've learned that my limitation at this point in life is going to be the suburbs, slightly country. That's it. Arkansas was too much, so I put everything back in the market, and I let somebody else that has that fantasy, let them go out there and live that fantasy. Unfortunately, I'm not riding that unicorn into isolation. I can't do it. And let me be very frank, guys. When I got out there, let me tell you something I didn't tell most of y'all during those 6 videos about Arkansas. I went over to meet my neighbor, and the first thing that I noticed, the state out there, there's a lot of rebel flags, right? But you can't interpret that as necessarily people being racist. When I walked to the neighbor's house that owned the property directly across from me, the first thing I noticed was a red flag hanging in the window of a swastika, okay? That's all I need to know. I'm good to go. I'm not living there. I couldn't honestly represent everybody in this nation and then have that kind of shit going on one window over. I don't support that, and I'm certainly not going to live around it. So there's another reason. I wasn't going to publish that because that is considered a sensitive topic on YouTube, but I'm just letting you know I don't get down that way, and so no, that would have never worked for me. So no, that land went out there, and somebody else wants to go out there and do what they need to do. Let them do it, but it ain't going to be around me and my cats. All right, beyond that, let's move on. So the criminal record, I want to talk about that real quick. I'm going to make a video specifically about that. But look, guys, if you have convictions that are older than 5 years, then there's a likelihood that I could probably help you, okay? Felony or misdemeanor. There are certain things we can't work with. Methamphetamines, very specifically, has been banned, okay, at the federal level. Why not other felonies? I don't know. You can do any other type of drug, but if it's methamphetamine, they're not going to deal with that. Also, if you're a registered sex offender of any type, they're not going to deal with that, okay? And even if you manage to get through that for some reason, the landlord wouldn't take you either, okay? Because of other city codes and regulations. So, just to be clear. So today at 3 p.m. in about, 2 hours, I'm going to talk to those girls over at Arizona State with their news organization, which is the affiliate of PBS, and we're going to talk about criminals being able to get vouchers. And I shouldn't say it in that respect. I think that, look, if Martha Stewart, here's a lady, Martha Stewart makes your bed sheets. I can think about 53 former governors and senators all went to prison. They're back as elected officials. So before we talk shit about people having criminal records, let's realize that half the people that sit up in politics these days are criminals. Okay? I think we already know that, right? So when you throw a rock at a glass window, just realize half the people you've elected into office have been convicted of something. And if you think they're hanging out, and if you think they're all in there and going to church, you're crazy. The world is what it is. People make mistakes, they pay for it, and that's what it is. All right, they got a lot of comments coming in, so I must have hit a hot button. Let's see what's going on. Good Redmond, you're totally throwing in the towel in Arkansas, so I answered that one. Sandra Barksdale, thank you. 777 Tigo, to lose my voucher short version. Interesting way to say that. Yikes. Well, some of us learned the lesson through your experience. At least you tried. That was the point. I did stick it out in Arkansas for a month I had a chest cold. I was wore out. I was snowed in for 4 days. I went the wrong time of year. And, you know what? The cost, but the real reason wasn't the swastika in the window and the fact that I was in the middle of nowhere in a town that basically opens and closes at will. And what really got me about being up there in Arkansas was, had you factored in all the cost of make a well and all the other stuff, I could have just bought a new house in town. You know, that's the thing. The cost, it didn't make any sense. The people out there are so desperate for money, they've actually priced themselves at the market. Nobody's going to pay you $20,000 to drill a hole. Then you talk to the guy that wants to cut the driveway. This guy is charging 9 times. Okay? But what really got me is when the local sheriff, I had to talk to the local, one of the sheriff's officers. This guy's grill was all messed up. Now, we know that parts of the state has a meth problem. When the local police have a bad grill, you know you're in trouble. Okay? Nothing against the great people in Arkansas. Lots of good people across Arkansas. I'm just letting you know that I was in an area of Arkansas that I probably shouldn't have been. So, call it the way I see it. But, man, I tell you what, that was a rough little town. Victoria Farton. Possession of an amphetamine or distribution. Lots of my neighbors have old possession charges. Well, I think if the conviction precedes the date in which they invented the law, you might be okay in that respect. There's no grandfathering sex offenders or SO, okay? I had to look into that. Mojo Mama. Interesting name of the day. So it goes to Mojo Mama. I always like good, colorful names because you guys are easy to remember, especially when y'all book with me and I'm doing the casework, and you'll tell me your YouTube name. So a lot of you, when you have an interesting name, I will remember you for life. I could think of about 20 people that have really good names that have good spin on them. And so Mojo Mama, I'm going to remember you. Victoria Fallen. Oh, I see. So let's see from my notes here what else we got. Yep. So April we'll be closed more often because I'm going to transition everything. There's a lot to move, and then the acquisition of the cats. Going to make sure I don't just pop them out the carrier and they take off to go anywhere. So we have to transition all these cats and not have them run off for dear life. And by the way, my heart like to fell out of me because Pretty Girl, which she has been a part of my house for a couple of weeks after we got her out of ICU for kitty cats. I wasn't watching, and the front door popped open. Man, let me tell you, she blew out the door, and that was the last time I saw Pretty Girl. And then about an hour later, she came back, which is good news. It means she knows where she lives. But I got to tell you, I was very upset. I almost posted about it because an hour went by and there was no cat. Now here's a cat that I spent nearly $3,000 to $3,500 with. Stood by her for 10 days, being treated for 5 different things. Cat was clinging on to life, man. IVs, both arms. And she got better for a day, blew out the door, and I thought, are you kidding me? It wasn't about the money. It was just like, are you kidding me? I put so much into keeping this cat alive. And boom, she's gone. Then I heard the crying at the door. I said, thank God she knows where she lives. You know, one thing, if you're going to own a pet and you're worried about doors and animals getting out, I train my cats indoor, outdoor, which means after the first week, I introduce them to the fenced area in the backyard. That lets them kind of get used to the area. Another thing I do is I take a t-shirt that I've been wearing for most of the day, not a sweaty one, and I always leave it by the front or back door. And the reason I do that is because cats, like dogs, have a keen sense of smell from long distance as well. When you move somewhere new and you leave out some of your laundry, it'll help that pet because it'll smell it. Okay. I know most of you don't believe that. You think it's fiction, but try it. This new place I'm going to, each corner of the yard, I'll put out an old piece of clothing. And if they do lose their way, cats of anything besides excellent eyesight have excellent smell. And they don't just smell inches away like a human. They'll be able to smell that. In other words, they catch that downwind. Not to say I smell bad, but they'll know where home is. Okay. And they do smell you. They smell cats smell everything. If you ever watch them, they have excellent sniffers. Anyways, moving on. Mojo Mama says, just getting a voucher. Lived in my home for over 50 years. Kind of scared. Wish me luck. Well, I don't want to wish you luck, Mojo. I want you to get it done. You know, if you run into some kinks or roadblocks, clearly I'm here on the channel. Asked, you know, if you got problems, you got questions, shoot me an email. That's what I'm here for. Mojo Mama says, love your cats. You know, that brings up another cat I want to talk about real quick. And that's Big Pops. He was the celebrity of our channel for a long time. And then we got the bad news about him a couple of weeks back that he has FIH, which is the equivalent to human HIV. He's got about a timeline of 5 years, and then we'll have to put him down before it gets too bad. And what I mean by put down is if there's no other alternative, and I see that not quality of life issue, but if I see that he cannot be treated or live reasonably, then I may have to make the option because I made a terrible decision behind the other cat that I had. In an attempt to get him a surgery the next day, he had to suffer through the night. And because I was under the belief, so I lost 2 cats so far. I was taking him to the surgeon the next day. He was just damaged very badly. But anyways, Big Pops probably will not be with us greater than 5 years. So we're trying to make him as comfortable as possible and as loved as possible. And he will probably be the 3rd cat to leave us. And so it'll be sad. So Big Pops will be joining us for a couple of videos. And as you all may know, he's a very, very big cat, 32 inches toe to toe. And it can weigh in well over 20 pounds some days or more. So, yeah, you know, he's doing good. He's living his best life. Wendy Reseller, Jay, when are you moving? Well, you know what? I have been like a crab in a hole under a rock this weekend, not wanting to answer phone or emails. Just tired, man. It's been a tough couple of months. But to answer your question, we will start the transition this week. And I've decided not to deal with a moving company. I want to bring a couple of boxes at a time. Why? Because I'd rather just enjoy the move-in experience. So by bringing a couple, 6, 7 boxes, I'm able to tell myself mentally, Jay, hey, just deal with these 8 boxes, and then your job is done. And then because it's only 13 miles away, so it's not a big deal. So I can just move in at my own pace. Or you have the option like most people do. They wait till the last 30 minutes. They get a big moving truck. Then they try to save money, right? So that means that your pulse is now at 400. You're in a bloodbath. Your slippers are your flip flops are so wet from sweat because you've got 38 seconds for U-Haul charges you another $9 million for the rental. So you're racing to pull every muscle in your back, right? I'm not playing that game. I don't give a damn if it costs me $5,000 in gas driving back and forth. I'm not going to struggle with a U-Haul and break my back and everything else. And I don't want another company coming and destroying everything else. Okay. So, in other words, I just do it myself slowly over time. So, in other words, I'm probably paying for a lease there while I'm not really actually ever living there for about 2 months. And I already told the landlord, I said, look, don't be surprised if you don't see much of me. So, here's your money. And so, yeah, it's a horse ranch, beautiful, big open place out there. And I met with the older couple that owns it, and I went to the bank and got them all cash. And they go, well, she starts to lecture me. What was interesting, the old lady started lecturing me. We don't do late, and blah, blah, blah. And she had 3 pages of rules, which I thought was okay. She's a cool lady. So is her husband. Her husband's 85. I said, well, there won't be any late payment. Here's your money for the entire lease. So there won't be any further discussions or anything else. Here's every dollar. I just pulled out a envelope stacked with hundreds. I said, there's your lease money. We'll see you at the end of the term. There's never a reason to ever, you don't never need to knock on my door about anything. I don't owe you anything. It's over with. Today it begins and it's over with. That's it. Don't worry about the lease or any of those rules. It's all paid. So I shut it right down. And believe it or not, she went right back into don't be late again. I was like, are you kidding me? All right, moving down back to comments. Hira. I'm probably saying it wrong. Hira Aman. Can you tell me what does your 3 months of consultation mean? Well, look, guys, when we talk about casework, working with people, working on their case, research, and so on, what it really means is you got people out here that are going to sell you packages. You ever seen those? You get a teller, you go to the AT&T, package number 1, package number 2, and they write the first package to be ridiculous. That way you're forced into getting package 3 or 4 to spend more money, right? I don't sell packages. If you need 2 weeks of my time, it costs a price. If you need 4 weeks of my time, it costs a price. If you need 90 days of consulting over a longer period, say you got 5 family members, then you would go 90 days or what you would say 12 weeks, right? These are not packages. You pick the amount of time that you need my assistance. For most of you, ask me, hey man, how long do you think it would take? And then based on that, then you make a choice. That's all it means. Descriptions of what I offer are literally this long. They're in there. When you click on that, it tells you what it is. If there's confusion after that, then there's a website, www.section8 consulting, that actually bullet points. After that, then I start to wonder if there's a mental illness at play where the ability to interpret what I do is still confusing. And then I usually won't allow those kind of consults if a person still has questions after that. And I actually had a person tell me, oh, well, I don't understand. Well, good luck to you because you're not going to understand it while you're dealing with me. So, but anyways, as a joke, Mr. and Mrs. Hirama or Aman, they're just consults for a specific amount of time. Okay. Mac Daddy. Well, you know what? We got a second interesting name of the day. Mac Daddy says, I like that. Shouldn't it take years to get a voucher when I am mentally challenged and my daughter is disabled? I don't think it takes years, not unless you're going to go and apply in the city of California, in LA or New York. Look, cases, we're all, just like a small child, we're all taught that a bee stings, right? So everybody else learns eventually as they're growing up that Section 8 takes 15 years. That's just what they teach everybody, right? That's what everybody thinks. I tell you, after 20 years, there's evidence to the contrary. I don't know any of my clients that have ever spent anywhere near a year getting a voucher. So I suppose if you hired a party clown for children, took advice from a moron on YouTube, there's lots of those. I'm definitely not one. It just depends, that's the thing. It depends on your preferences and other issues. So you mentioned that you are disabled and so on. Well, half of the people that are wanting a voucher are disabled. The other half are probably, seniors. So there's nothing special about you being disabled and so on. You have to have a lot of preferences. And so, one of them is obviously being disabled. What I'm saying is, so are most everybody that applies for vouchers. So I don't think that's in particular going to boost your case beyond anybody else's. So I didn't mean that rude. I'm just letting you know that, by the way, nearly everybody that applies for a voucher is a senior and disabled. So what would set you apart from the other 98% of people that also want that voucher? Preferences. Uh, Victoria Fullen. He isn't lying when he talks about how much to read it takes to learn about these programs and how they operate. I had to read 1,500 pages to learn to dispute a retroactive charges. Well, the reality is, I actually did take a consensus over a period of 20 years, every operational manual for the nation, including U.S. Code, Title 24, and so on. That means that I would have approximately read a little bit over 1.25 million pages of data manuals, operations, procedures multiplied by 50 states over a 20-year history. So, do I know what the fuck I'm talking about? Yes. How would I be different from a YouTube consultant? Though I do have a YouTube channel, it's a benefit to clients. I would say that fractionally every single other person that spoke on the topic of Section 8 and housing on YouTube, outside of that of HUD, all the other people that are making these videos, I would say their comprehension levels at 0.001. I'm not aware of any other consultants there that have ever read a data processing, data procedures, or any of the rest of the manuals. They're actually just reading on Google than making a video. So you would have better chance of actually getting your case processed by somebody that writes coloring books than you would some of the people making videos on YouTube. Okay, that's serious. Tiggo 777 Tiggo email address, please. All right, let's link you up, brother. Look, people from China, Russia, and other fabulous countries around the world, they love emails in these live videos because their little bots will copy that. So what I'm going to do is link you to where it will go, where I know that the bot can't grab it, and we do get lots of spammers in the channel. So bear with me a minute. I didn't know this video was going to last this long, guys. I'm not even shaving. This is supposed to be a very short video, just to give you all a few updates. I just slapped on a shirt. This wasn't supposed to be an official video at all. Okay, information, appointments, and prices. You'll find what you're looking for on this page. Again, I'm never going to publish my number, email directly. If you're not a bot, then you'll know how to go click that link, and then you'll arrive at the information you're looking for. I'm not stupid enough to publish my phone number or email anywhere on YouTube. That will end badly. It did once. I had to get rid of the email. So, all right, a lot more comments. Man, y'all really going at it today. I guess everybody's off for Sunday. Maurice Owens, how do you get housing choice voucher? Well, Mr. Owens, your first step would be contacting the housing authority in your city. So you'd want to type in, let's say you lived in Tampa, Florida, and then you type in Tampa, Florida Housing Authority, and then there should have a name and address, and then you can apply directly with them. They'll give you a paper or digital application. You fill in your information, and then they'll consider you for a voucher. That's all there is to that. Once you learn that there's more to it, then you'll come back here and ask me more questions. So, Heather Smith, hey man. So, if y'all wonder why Heather's name's a different color and all in the live video, which has a live chat here, most of you will notice we have a live chat. She's a member. We have memberships in the channel. They're $1.99. Okay, so YouTube gets $1. I get the 99 cents. I spend my 99 cents cat treats. So. Victoria Fallen gives me a smiley face with stars. Victoria Fallen also says, I won my case, but it was hard. Oh, yeah. Look, anytime you want to defeat housing authority policy procedures and so on to deal with how people rank in housing authority, you should be able to sit down and read a telephone book. You'd want to read one of those with policy probably every week for the next 10 years. And at that point, you might surmise you could start doing my job. There's a lot to learn. And then just because you have manuals, policy, procedures, U.S. Code, Title 24, and everything else involved, it doesn't mean you would be able to adequately interpret the information. And if you did interpret it, would you actually be able to utilize it to your favor? And then when you get really good at it, you're able to use that information like a weapon, which means you can construct it, pull it all together, build a case, and then launch it like a rock out a window. And then you're able to compel housing authorities to cooperate in the same level as you. And then eventually you learn enough where you know more than the people doing their job. It's a lot like being playing a game. And doesn't, when you guys sign up for lotteries, does that not imply that it's a game? So if you're going to play the game, you better damn well be able to play that game better than the people that designed it. So, and I think that's the reality. A lot of people, oh, well, you're just cheating the system. No, I'm not. I operate within the bounds of the law. I follow it very specifically. But it's not my problem if the people who designed the laws or the people who underwrit the information were too fucking lazy and left a bunch of holes in it. If you leave a door open, then what happens? People walk in it. That's my job. If somebody commits a murder and hires an attorney, do you get mad when they get you off? Do you get mad when they found a loophole? They left the door open? That's my job. Anybody can be a consultant, I suppose, but can you be good at it? That's the reality of what I do. There's no need to lie and deceive or anything else. Why do I need to do that? An intelligent person would understand how to find it. You read long enough, you start to see all the holes in the system. Now, am I able to make the system operate efficiently for me or my client? Does that mean I'm breaking some federal law? No, it does not. It means I was smart enough to identify it, to utilize it. Okay? And as a favor to HUD and everybody else, I have no objection to HUD. I think HUD's a great organization. They're the government. They receive federal funds. They issue those federal funds to housing authorities. Your local housing authority has vouchers, paid for complements of HUD, which is the feds, right? Those are two different things. A lot of you guys think the housing authority is HUD. They're not. They're not even connected. The reality is HUD receives federal funds. They issue that down to the housing authority, and the person you got a problem with is the housing authority. I think HUD's fantastic. They do the best they can with the federal funds they can get. Who do I have such an issue with? Most of these housing authorities. Okay? Those are the people that are causing you problems. It isn't HUD. HUD's there to take complaints. When the housing authority, HUD and FHEO, Fair Housing, are the people that try to police the housing authorities. The housing authority are county employees, answerable to the county and state. They are not federal employees. They do not work for HUD. They are not connected. You see my point? So, back to the primary issue. You either know how to navigate this tremendous amount of information. And another thing about it is, guys, just realize this. We started with HUD. We started with a little bit of information. So it's underwritten, a little bit of information. And then each additional year, 1977, 1978, instead of rewriting it to make it work better, rewriting the manual, what we've done is we keep adding to that manual, right? So we have decades of garbage stacked on top. Another layer, another layer, another layer, okay? So instead of rewriting this whole system, they just keep adding to it. So it becomes convoluted. It becomes this gigantic manual. You ever guys want to ever see where they undo most of their underwriting and where the people actually kind of look at the information and interpret it and issue it down to the housing authorities? You'd want to take a look at NAN, N-A-N, and McKay, M-C-K-A-Y. They underwrite the vast majority of all policies and procedures for every housing authority in America. So I suppose if you had their information, you might know how to get the manuals, all right? They sell a lot of that stuff. You can become a lot of things in Nana McKay's website for, I think, not crispy $96. You can become a housing specialist. Little baby manual. I can teach y'all guys. It'd be a lot like getting a certificate out of a bubblegum machine. Do you think that a housing specialist has got a 4-year degree? No. It's a joke. I can go. You think $96 a little manual is a housing specialist? Woo, whatever. If you think a housing specialist knows more than me, that's a joke. That'd be like comparing me to a cricket. So, yeah, Nana McKay, go check it out, guys. You can spend a lot of money buying all those manuals if they'll give them to you. So, You learn something new every day when you listen, Tigio says, thank you. Would you suggest I send a story and proof of documentation of claim? So what you'd want to do is step it up to first you file your complaint with the housing authority, it'll be ignored. Then step that up to HUD and file a 803. If that doesn't work, then step it up to FHAO Fair Housing and then premise it under Title 24 as an ADA noncompliance or other issue of discrimination. Discrimination does not need to be the color of a person. Discrimination can simply be a denial of service for a lot of reasons. I didn't like your attitude. I didn't like how you looked. I didn't like how your hair was blowing in the air. I didn't like that you did this or that. There's lots of ways to discriminate. I thought you were gay, even though you're not gay. I thought you were gay, so thus they thought you were gay, so they discriminated, right? There's lots of ways to discriminate. Oh, she was too fat. We didn't want her in the building. There's lots of ways. It doesn't have to be about race all the time. Discrimination happens a lot of ways. So if you understand the pretext of that, then you have a case. And there's lots of ways to play the case. The point is you'd want to get their attention on a factual basis that they have discriminated and what evidence that you have. It can't be simply that you didn't like people at the housing. You didn't like her attitude. Not that. It's got to be something factual. Have you been harassed? Have you been denied? Harassment and denial of a service are adequate responses. I didn't like the way Sally talked to me like trash on the phone. That's not sufficient. And in fact, they may even view you as mentally ill. And even if you were mentally ill, it would not block you from your ability to be able to file for discrimination and other related issues with HUD or FHEO. Yale Resources, good morning. Now, here's a lady that works in the same field as I do in some respects, helps people. And so we're glad to see you, Gail, popping in. We were just having some general topics about Ukraine and the refugees that effect it might have. Also, those that have criminal records and, want to get housing vouchers. Talking about cats. We're moving our office to a horse ranch here in Tomball, Texas, North Houston. And just chitter-chatting about all kinds of things. I'm giving lectures and Tarzi, the biggest problem, you got to finish the sentence, Tarzi. You said the biggest problem, but you didn't finish, my friend. So, all right, guys, we're going to wrap this up. It was supposed to be a 10-minute video, just turned into a tirade of me discussing too many things. Besides that, again, at 3 o'clock, I'll be talking to those young ladies in the state of Arizona, news agency, and so on, the affiliate of PBS. I keep putting PBS in there to make myself feel important. But the reality is these young ladies are students of journalism at the university, the state of university, and there is some affiliation with PBS news station. And I believe there's going to be a collection of their students writing this article. And we should get a copy when we do. Some of the information I'm sharing with them are probably be shared in their articles for, Arizona State University and the news agencies they're dealing with, including the PBS. First time we interviewed, it didn't work out. I think it was just the young lady doing it. This time it's the whole class. And so, anytime I can help direct good information to a news organization, whatever, then, I'm glad to do so. Tigio says, yes, harassed and discriminated in so many ways. They even had police acting as a caseworker. Well, public servants to some degree are caseworkers, and they can assist in some ways, but I can imagine that probably didn't play out very well for you, so I'm sorry to hear that. All right, we're going to wrap it up. By the way, guys, when I'm moving over there, we're going to be some other videos. So you know what, guys, if y'all just looking for something a little bit different besides the normal videos we do, like today, I'll record some of the moving over there, some of the land, possibly the horses and so on. Just a curiosity. Again, I'm like anybody else. Now, I don't want to just make Section 8 videos every day. Sometimes we have to have a little spice in here. So if you want to get a better picture of me and other parts, just out of interest, then that's a great way to see me at a more intimate level, personal. And we'll move from there. And then Tarzi says, most of them are incompetent AF. No, I agree, and misuse power. Well, you're right. Well, in some respects, housing authority employees can be good or bad. I've had over 100 of them contact me over the years. Some that still work there. Some were former directors of major city housing authorities. I mean, big, big cities. And others were former employees and current employees that hate their job. I've only had one housing authority. Now, you'd think the housing authority people would chime into my channel and say a bunch of disrespectful things to me because I've had some pretty strong opinions about housing authorities, but I've never targeted specific housing authorities as being bad, you know? But most of them have shared a wealth of information, especially the ones that really hate their job. They're quick to release a lot of good details, a lot of what makes my job exceptionally easier because they really do give me the keys to everything when they do that. It helps me understand their systems and how they operate and how to legally get where we need to go without committing any crime. So yeah, I definitely appreciate all the different housing authority people that have contacted me privately and have provided a wealth of information over the years and continue to do so. It gives me a real insight into things and it helps me understand better how to help my own clients. So, well, guys, I've enjoyed talking with you. I think we're going to let this go for Sunday. I'm sure y'all got that Sunday lunch you got to do and visit with the families, back to business Monday morning. Let me give you some advice, guys, about Monday morning. If you intend on or have booked a consult for Monday, I'm just going to be keenly aware. As humans, we're all kind of like ants. If you guys start hammering my phone Monday, I'm going to warn you about that. Everybody loves to think over the weekend and call in the money. The problem is I cannot take 81 calls. It would be wise for most people that had intended to book a consult or already have one to not call or send me a bunch of emails on Monday. We have other days like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Those days aren't that busy. And so it's very annoying when the vast majority of people around the country all want to descend on my telephone and on my email at 9 a.m. on a Monday. Look, guys, pick the next day. My level of service will increase 4,000%. I will literally have an attitude on a Monday at 9. Okay. As a matter of fact, y'all actually calls the phone, not y'all, here in the channel. There were so many calls at one time, it actually caused my phone to malfunction several times. It was that bad. We have to learn to quit being the community ants and doing everything at the same time. Look, man, there's so many days and other times y'all could call me that, we would get along famously and be able to have a great consult. Picking Monday is a terrible idea. Trying to call in at 9 in the morning when I'm talking with other clients is a bad idea. I'm just saying, I'm just warning you guys, I'm not going to answer any emails or phone calls Monday morning. Every Monday we go through this, and every Monday I've got to roll my eyes and think, man, nobody is listening to me. All right, last few comments. Mr. Good Redmond, after the last house purchase in Arkansas, I'd probably go back to renting for a while. Thanks so much for your show. Have a wonderful day. Yeah, you're right about that. Mojo Mama, thanks. Happy Sunday to you. I thank you so much, Mojo Mama. Come back and see us. I like your name a lot. Hopefully one day we'll get to talk. Tarzi, I'm moving to France. Where there's less discrimination. Well, the French can be pretty uppity. You got to remember, I've got my grandfather's from there. And I can tell you that social problems happen everywhere. But I think that, France is a cool place and they got some cool people. And, my grandmother's from Germany. My grandfather's from France. So it's not like I don't know these things. Yeah. Hira. Amen. That's an interesting name. I'm moving. Okay. We booked for Tuesday afternoon. Well, Hira, you're going to have a good consult because Tuesdays are excellent. So I'm sending you an email during the week. I won't send Monday. Thank you, Tarzi. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys when you don't hammer to death on Monday. So some of you guys are listening. Mojo Mama, I like to make a consult. Lots of questions. Well, why don't we do this, guys? Before I close out this video, I'm going to give you some information about me and the channel, and then you can make your own informed decision. One thing I want to tell you guys is there are lots of people selling snake oil and other bullshit, okay? The best way is investigate, not just reviews, because people can buy reviews, okay? I don't engage in that. The reviews I get are too twisted, funny, and interesting to actually be bought. Trust me, when you buy reviews, it comes from people from other nations. They talk in weird ways, and they always have a weird chime to them. The reviews I have are very much real because people moan, they bitch, they complain, they do all kinds of things, which lets you know pretty much my reviews are pretty real. Anyways, first two things I'm going to give you information, appointments, and prices. And I'm also going to give you the website. Anybody wondering about the reputation of a company can contact the Secretary of State of Texas. We are filed as an S Corp there. That's your first indication that I'm real. Okay? I wouldn't be filed in the state. Number two, the feds would be at my door. Okay? Next up, I'm going to give you service reviews. You can read through them. And like I said, they're pretty colorful. So there's no rhyme or reason why my clients leave reviews. Sometimes they'll leave a review and just ask me to call them. Okay? So service reviews. We got a few on Google as well. You're welcome to look at those. Let me be very clear, guys, about one thing about Google. I'd be foolish not to ask people to leave reviews after I've done a good job, okay? So some people do write nice reviews, not because I paid them or whatever, but sometimes people call, hey, Jay, great work, wanted to leave a review. Where can I do it? They do it on, sometimes they go to Google, sometimes they leave them there, okay? But I don't actively send emails and push people to leave reviews. They do so because they want to. All right, beyond that, I'm going to leave a few other things for you. If you want news updates, guys, look, whenever I want to communicate with you guys, I do so on my community page. I'm going to link you up to that. You should save it. I post a lot of personal information there. It's kind of like a Facebook. So, the last thing leave with you guys is my success rate's around 93%, okay? Which means there's a 7 to 10% rate in which I fail to do my job. Or I have a bad client. That does happen. Anytime somebody sells you a fantasy of perfect reviews or a perfect service, they're flat out lying to you, okay? So that's the accepted result that I can offer as a company, that we have a failure rate of 7 to 10%. And so that is what it is. Second to that, there's nothing easy about this type of work. It takes time. It takes research. That is what it is. We live in a world of Amazon where people expect things to be delivered the next day, and that be the end. Look, everybody I deal with has highly complex cases. I cannot sell consults as a framed up package. Why? Because at one minute I got a guy in a wheelchair with cancer. The next minute I got a 99-year-old woman that's living in a homeless shelter. There's no way for me to frame up packages. It'll never work with this type of work I do. So the only thing that I offer to people is my time. 2 weeks, 4 weeks, and 12 weeks. If you have a simple case, then 2 weeks. If you have the average case, let's say 4 weeks. If you're a whole family of people that are about to be evicted and you've got a complicated case, then it would be 12 weeks. That is it. There's nothing else special about what I offer. For those of you that simply just want to talk to me to hear a human voice before you spend an extra nickel, then check out the 20 minutes. I heavily discounted it. I think it's $45. That gives you 20 minutes to figure out whether or not I know my shit or it's not worth dealing with me. Okay? That's the easiest way to invest a small amount of money to figure out whether or not this whole thing is just a sham. Another thing, anybody who's been around long enough would know, I've been here almost a decade on YouTube. I've over 400 videos. I've made more than HUD itself. That's a very clear indication. When you type in Section 8 consultant, I'm ranked number 1 in Google in every single state. That's another very big flag. Okay? There's a very few housing authorities that don't know me or have not seen me. I didn't arrive from yesterday. I'm not on a computer in an internet shop somewhere in a Chinese town. I'm not in Russia. I don't ask clients for gift cards. I don't process payments through Zelly. I don't process payments through Cash App. That's a great way to know it's a scam. Can you go down to the Western Union and give me $10? I don't do bullshit like that. Everything that we do operates. And then the last thing I'm going to leave you with is we're in a contractual agreement, which requires a signature, which means it's 3 pages. You are apprised of your state and federal rights, what I offer, and it's a simple cut and dry deal. We are above board at every level and every respect. And any time that you're not above board, then, I wouldn't publish my home address on my website. I wouldn't publish my face broadcasted across YouTube. And then third and last, I would be leaving in handcuffs, sitting in a federal prison, being charged with wire fraud and everything else. I've outlived that for 20 years, so I must know what the fuck I'm doing. Simple as that, guys. If you want the truth, I can offer it to you, in relation to housing. I can certainly help you in most cases. Some cases end up being too difficult. If your case is convoluted and difficult or you've got a lot of problems, I'll turn it down. I'll turn down money all the time. I'm not If I'm only doing 4 consults, 4 to 5, 4 days a week, then I'm clearly not in this for the money. So I want to take a limited number of cases. So you make your own decisions when it comes in relation to that. But I thought we should talk broadly about that. We should talk as if I'm having coffee and I'm sitting at the table with you. That is the reality of what I do for people. That is the absolute in your face truth and related to that. And I think that my reputation really does speak for itself. I don't really need to sell anybody anything. Most people know what I do and know that I do it pretty well. All right, guys, I've enjoyed talking with y'all. I'm out of here. Y'all have a good weekend.